I think, we don't, Einstein said those who've never failed have never tried. And you look at, I've got a 17-month-old baby daughter. And I noticed, when toddlers walk and seeing them eat, they fall over. But if it was an adult, I know this is so hypothetical, if it was an adult, then most of us would go, oh, stuff that for a game of soldiers. I don't like this walking malarkey. I'm going to crawl around on all fours for the rest of my life. Make my life a lot harder, but at least I won't fall over. And that's kind of what we do emotionally. Right. And before toddlers really understand language, they learn that they're not born with this. They learn if a hot oven, careful, they start to learn that without having to burn themselves. But before language is imposed, or they're understood, when it comes to eating, I think as a parent, if you can just leave your kids be, just give them the biggest range of things, within reason, but just let them try things. They eat, they eat. If they don't, they don't. As a parent, it could be, potentially, you could question your own guilt issues.
Right, yeah, with your own food. And
with your own food, yeah.
So without language, they can just be who they're going to be. They can fall down and get up and not think of it as a failure. No. Right? They can experiment and just be.
They can experiment and be. And I think adults can learn so much from just looking.
Watching children. Yeah. I sat down with Sadhguru a few weeks ago and I said, any thoughts on raising kids? And he said, Brian, you don't raise your kids. He said, they're a blessing. You're there to kind of give them the space to then become who they're going to be. And you maybe have a small part in that, but this whole kind of ego projection we do to thinking, I'm going to make this kid this.
Yes, I got into trouble a couple of years ago because I said, it's tantamount to child abuse. It was a strong thing to say, but if let's say you don't like some certain foods, so you don't let your child have those foods, that's not fair on the child. It's taken me long enough. I want to, with my adult kids, I want to be. I don't have any regrets. But I do. It took me a long time to realise as a parent, and this is my belief, that the best thing I could do with my children is set them free. And you could argue that the moment they're born, they get given a name and get given a religion. You could argue that the moment they're born, they're not free. Now, there's nurturing. There's a woman, I don't know if she's brilliant, Alison Gopnik.
Okay, no, I don't know.
I think her title is child psychiatrist, but she's got a big department at Harvard University. And she's done some incredible work. And she wrote a book called The Gardener and the Carpenter. And it's this problem with being parents, not problem, but we go through so many worries about concerns. We try not to project our own insecurity to our children, but most of the time we can't help it because we're not always aware of it. Yeah. And she said you need to apply both sides, the gardener and the carpenter. So if you're gardening, you look at a plant and you prune it where you think it needs to be, and it sort of grows as a result of that nurturing. The carpenter is, right, I need a 90-degree angle like this. You're going to do this and this and this and this. And that was her metaphor for two types of parenting. And sometimes they're both needed. It's like non-linear and linear. Human being and doing. The human being is the non-linear, is the again, time expands and contracts. But the measurement of time doesn't expand and contract. 60 minutes is 60 minutes. But there are times where our perception, it's almost like you need two watches. You need a watch for TikTok time, right? And then you need a watch for expansion contraction time.
When you're actually being.
When you're actually being. So those things are, I think it's learn. It's to try. And I'm not saying I've become brilliant at this by any stretch of the imagination, but I've just become increasingly aware of it. To learn at the same time, a bit like us and trees, symbiotic relationships, we oxygen and CO2. We should look at our kids as a wonderful opportunity to learn about ourselves and maybe some of the things that we lost in life because we've had to jump on the wagon of go to school, get this, get my degrees, be a good citizen, earn more money, get my insurance sorted out, get my, have a nice house, a new house, and have more friends, and make sure that, do all of these things. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if we forget the other side of it, then I think we're in problem.
I have a 2 and 3 year old boy, and what I noticed first when they were young is like they're just happy to be here. Like they don't need a reason, a drive, a degree, or whatever. They just wake up and they're just like, this is fun. Yeah. And it was a reminder to me that we all should be happy just to be here, and maybe that comes back with a bit of that mindfulness as well, like taking pleasure in these small little details that we let go by. And
we're always looking for the next thing.
Yeah. And forgetting the present moment.